No Hynes, no worries. We had a cracker week this week. Obviously not owning Grant in general and trading Haas out. We were expecting and hoping for a big week in this one. And then Hynes comes out on Thursday night and goes bang with a 95. And the majority of people that brought him in, especially, and who had him originally, had him as captain. So we really needed big scores from a lot of our players, and a bunch of them delivered. Cleary being one of those ones that we could have got a bigger one with him in that try, but it wasn't to be, and we still scored a big one there of 956, and leaves us in a great spot. Overall rank of 367, considering where we were after round 2 and round 3, 35,000 into 24,000 there. It's been a big turnaround, and trades this week, one of them went perfectly well in Jack de Belin, and he is him. And Smithy comes in and sounds like he'll be out for a bit of time. And if that's the case, you'd imagine he doesn't play this week at all, and potentially longer. There's a little bit of chatter. Someone mentioned in the comments. Again, don't take it for gospel, but potential bulging discs, which could make sense, and that's why he was in so much pain and not in a good way. If that's the case, he'd probably out for a little bit, and he would then be a sell, which is annoying, but my goal this week is to get Hynes. It's as clear as that, and he might be one of those guys that does have to make way, especially if he doesn't play this week. He was coming in for cover, and I was going to need him for round 15, so maybe that's still the play. Unfortunately for this week, it worked out as a trade in this week, got the 42, got a bit of cash in the bank, but overall, I'm not sure exactly how that's going to play out, but we'll find out over the next few days anyway, and thankfully we don't have any games until Friday, so we should know majority of what's going to happen across the week there. So a great score again, as I said, 60k in the bank, 21 trades remaining. It could be another 3 trade a week, as I said, trying to get Hynes in the squad, but Cleary and Dillbags Brown both doing great. And the big issue with Hynes is I just can't see myself not owning him against the Dolphins this week, who are letting in a lot of points, and Hynes, the clear captaincy option as well. That's the thing, with Cleary not kicking goals, the minor groin strain, it is frustrating, and me bringing in Hynes would mean I have so many halves at the moment, and would be trying to get through the next bunch of weeks without cover, potentially in that middle position, because Murray would be the guy to go, and he just hasn't been scoring well enough. Massive break even. I don't want him to hemorrhage too much more cash before removing him in round 13. So Murray probably bounces back and gets the 60 odd, and Hynes probably gets 60 odd as well, and that's that would be how the fantasy gods play this thing out. But bringing in Bird this week wasn't too great either. So, the trade-ins, apart from de Belin, weren't anything special, but they did okay. And my lowest scorers of the round were a 33 from Preston, a 33 from Katoa. Didn't have to play out Alamoti, Talau, or Murdoch Masila, and had Trent Leoro on the bye, who he comes straight back into the squad, and hopefully another 50-odd for Trent. So, things are looking up for this team, and there's a few potential question marks, and we'll go through them now. Guys that are a complete green light and are staying in the team longer term. Obviously, Robson, there's no real clear hooker option that's going to cover majority of those games. And you get Robson in every game but 15 to start off with. And that's just massive. And you can't really get much better than that. He's priced at 50 now, and that's exactly what he's been scoring, really, of recent time, which not great, to be honest, but we'll cop that. And if I do trade out Smith, it means I have no hooker cover, and that's... it can be painful for sure, but is guys like Tanner Boyd a trade in, even though he has buys in 13 and 16? Like, he's scoring so well, but he's priced so high now, which is frustrating. The mid position's an interesting one. There are a heap of options at the moment. Obviously, Totola coming back down, right down in price now. Break even's still fairly high, but he's one of those guys that over the next few weeks, this week, next week, maybe even the one after, is a really good trade-in, I think. If he can, really, you want him to be able to string a couple of games together before you look to pick him up, but he might be a guy you need to slot in now. Obviously, the wing fullback position with Lockie Miller out, Drinky's a target, Buller is a clear target for me, and I think I need to get him in some way, shape, or form. That's for sure. And the way to get to Murray is going to be a downgrade in that. A downgrade to get Buller. Likely, I play Buller this week, and I think that would be fine. The next round target is actually going to be up against the Dragons, which I think is fine. For the Tigers to come out and hopefully play a decent game up against those Dragons. So that's probably where I'm at with the Buller situation. In terms of the rest of the squad, I'm not too keen on McInnes now. Obviously at 41, they're just dominating too many teams, and that's the big issue with him. Minutes, yeah, we're thinking about that 50 odd. Like, he didn't play big minutes on the weekend, obviously with them thrashing my Cowboys, and hopefully for his sake it's a little bit closer. But if you bring in Hynes, which I will be, I think, then we want it to be a high scoring game to the Sharks for Hynesy to dominate. So McInnes is on the chopping block for sure, but potentially could be held as well with Hamlin Uele as well out, and Finucane coming back, but hopefully taking that prop position with McInnes staying in the 13. I think he's been doing a good job, so no reason why he shouldn't be. 40, I think, is a hold. Murray's definitely on the chopping block. Smith potentially if he's out longer term. Hosking, more chance he's staying in the team than not. I think Preston is definitely on the chopping block. Just the lack of points of recent time just means that he is not going to make you any further cash, likely, unless he comes out with a couple of try game. But yeah, with him, he's obviously a solid price to be able to use in trades. Upgrades, obviously, going Preston to Horsburgh is probably a bit sideways, I would say, but it's something that I'd say a few people would be potentially looking at, just with the scoring this week, 33 compared to 77. Won't happen every week. It'll probably be closer to 50 against 55 or something like that, or 45 to 55. But yeah, that's that. Katoa, I think we're going to keep him for one more week and then potentially trade him out. I just have so many halves in my team and I just don't need him for cover, especially if I'm looking to bring in Hynes. I think Katoa needs to go, and potentially Cleary goes come Origin as well. Depending how the next 3 weeks goes, I just don't think I can sit here and not own Hynes over the next 3 weeks. He's been scoring 90s, sure, but that, I think, 125 is coming, and we don't want to be missing out on that for sure. Obviously, having Johnson as well and Brown, it's a lot. It's an overload. That's why I think at least one of them needs to go, and God forbid they get injured or suspended. I think one other probably leaves as well. But I think having 3 over the Origin period, Johnson, Cleary, Brown, or Johnson, Hynes, Brown, something like that will work just fine in that one there. Okay, let's go through at the end. So Lemuelu has a bye next week, which along with Qatar. So I think Lem's obviously clear hold now. He went up 70k this week, which was massive. Great news for him. Birdie's 76, Brownie's 76 was terrific, obviously, and that helped us out. Manu was a trade-in last week, was terrific. Miller was solid. Tedesco, but that's fine. Just no real low scores, guys, which was the win here. And so next week, obviously, Miller being out, I need that wing fullback cover, as I said. Smithy out, which just means Lioro comes in. Really, if I want to make it simple, I could just go Buller in, bank the cash, play him there, which would be cool. Would do a job. Guys like Campbell, and obviously an option as well, with Brimo being out. But yeah, 3 weeks and then a bye. Does that excite me? Not as much. But really, it could just be, Lioro comes in for Smithy, probably scores better. And Buller comes in and can probably get closer to that 30-odd as well. So really, I could probably end up with a similar score and squad next week. But Murray to Hynes is a big upgrade. And could be looking at some potential other guys as well. So that's the squad at the moment. Very happy, obviously, to be 367. I haven't been positioned in this high with my team in a long time, and in a few years now, which has sucked then. But obviously, the amount of effort that's been put in, the pressure that I'm putting on those top players at the moment, and going hard each and every week, I think is important as well. I have banked three trades, which I know a lot of, some people have, some people haven't done. And even if I use 3 this week, that's 18. And if I can use another, 10 or so over the buy period, I think that, that leaves you with 16 and come around 20. It's just ridiculous. So, I think even more, like if you use 15 over the buy period, leaves 3 plus the 8, leaves 11 with 8 rounds to go is plenty. So, trades this year, as I said in my strategy video at the beginning of the year, the trades weren't as crazy, as important this year. Obviously, having a few of these cash scouts from the start of the year, Preston has made 400k, like ridiculous. Katoa's done really well. Trent Lioro's been great, making a couple hundred there as well. So across the board, there's guys that we've brought in early. Lemuelu's making good bank now. Miller's made a couple 100k. There's lots of these guys that have done so well. 40's done great, having owned him from the beginning of the year as well. It's just been great across the board. Bringing Katoa, and he's almost made 100k already. So things are looking up for the squad, and let's go to the overall rankings now. And I think I'm about 360 behind now, which is not ideal, right? But the top guys didn't put away too much. I got the 950 odd, and they got 980 in that one, and 953. So they pulled away by 27. Considering last week I didn't go as well, lost a little bit. I was down 340 odd. Now I'm 340 and down 366 now, which isn't terrible, but it's just top 2 guys, and then the next guy is 50 behind them, 50 behind the 45 behind the leader. So overall, not the worst position, guys. The top 10, they're separated by 130 points. So there's a decent gap there. And yeah, our good boy Brenton Vickery, I think he's into 17th now. So didn't have he was 8th, I believe, and had an 876 and still only lost a few ranks there. So nothing too bad overall. In good position we are sitting in. And let's go to the leagues and obviously the Battle of the Podcast before we get to the Community Cup and the People Squad. So let's go to my NL Fantasy Analysis community to start off with and shout out a few of those guys. We've got Danielle up top as well with the JBFA tag there. If you're one of our boys or girls there, pop your JBFA at the top and I'll recognize you there for sure. Hohepa, we got Jamie in 4th with Brenton in 3rd. Jay in there in the top 5. So cool to see your names there. David Booth in there as well, who's in one of my head-to-heads. So that's that there. All in a good position overall. I think 15th, 12th or something is the overall position there. The private group, Matty T ends up back in that top spot. Unfortunately, a couple of average weeks for Ryan, who was first, and Aobi, who had a very tough one at 796. But obviously, those guys holding Grant, holding Haas as well is why they didn't go so well. But I'm into 7th in the private league, and Scoop had a 905, which we'll speak about him when we get to that video with the buy, hold, risk it, and sell. Okay, my head-to-head, I won all of them this week, which was good. Sitting in the top 8 in all of them, 6 in the ham-to-head, 5th in the Gargarov, 4th in the Rudleys, and 2nd in the Revenge of the Broncos, the Battle of the Podcast. I'm sitting 5th now, so I did make a bit of a move. Mark continues to dominate up top, 987 in this one. Did bring in Hynes and captain him, so that was the master stroke of the week. I didn't even actually notice Frizzell went down 2 points, which is interesting. Smithy there forward, obviously having Matter out hurt him, but it did allow him to still get a 30-odd from one of those guys and did play Weeks and DeBellin in there as well. So I wonder who he wouldn't have played if he had to. Probably Katoa. Yeah, I'd say Isaiah Katoa. And didn't play Hammer either. So the team's looking great. Brought in Buller and brought in Heinze. So can't go wrong at the moment. I think went Manu, Hynes, and Buller this week and played Week. So, still had a cracker week, and obviously he's in a great position for round 13, so that's that. Ryan with an 879 wasn't his best and doesn't own Hynes, but captained for feeder in that one, so it shows that all these guys are doing great work. Pretty solid scores across the board, guys. The lowest one here was a 807 in the top 13, and he's having a solid season there. Callum sitting at 2,100, so 13 guys they're ranked in the top 2,200, and a few guys from there aren't going as well, but that is that there in the Battle of the Podcast. And so that's overall where we're at. Cowboys official in 24th, Talking League Cup 113. So we're making strides and we're doing a good job. So that's where my squad's at. Let me know where your squad is at in the comments, guys, or DM me if you'd like to potentially have some advice. That could be cool. People squad went backwards this week. 823 out to 48-42 overall rank. Not a great round 9 rank, that's for sure. Trades left 22, 70k in the bank. Obviously, some good scores in there. Tanner Boyd had to play Couchman, had to play Alamotti, had to play Host. Not good overall on that front. Isaiah Katoa, obviously 33 there. Walsh did get his try saver, I believe, so 23 for him. But it's not great overall, guys, in this one here. No clear big scorers apart from Lemuelu there in that one. Obviously, Nicarima, solid, 43, but it's still 43. Middles there, not doing great in that one. So, holding Grant, holding Haas, and holding Madison, guys, it was never going to be a good week. So, missing out on Madison, we really needed his good score there in the mid-section. And, our People squad will have a big improvement this week. So, that's that. We sit with plenty of cash in the bank, moves to be made, but moving Grant, Haas, and Madison back into the squad, into the fray is going to be great. But sitting there, obviously bringing in Manu this week was great news for the squad there, and good cash rises from Nicarima. And Boydie was very helpful. Obviously, Couchman not sitting in a good position. Hosty, hopefully we can hold him there. Murdoch Masilla in that position, making all the cash that he does is great. So cash generation was solid this week, but just missing out on 3 big guys wasn't great at all. In terms of trades this week, it's not really clear. It's a bunch of those sort of mid-range guys. Alamotti, potentially goes down, like to get a buller, but we do have a lot of cash cows. Maybe it's Couchman instead of Alamotti that goes down. I'd say that would probably be a better play. I understand why we would go to Alamotti down as well, and potentially an upgrade to a gun in another position could be really good for us. Our halves position is the odd one at the moment. Johnson and Cleary. Do we try and get Hynes? That's an interesting play as well. But there's not really any clear guys to trade out of this side. So that is the people squad and where we're at the moment, guys. As I said, hope you're doing really well and you're making ranks as well. Obviously, if you're listening to this channel, then we're helping. We're making good decisions, which is lovely. Just make sure you don't waste trades, really. If you are trading hard, it's for a specific purpose. You're targeting a certain guy that's going to get you over the mark. And so good luck with the thoughts this week, listening to all the content and all the other content creators as well. Thank you.